your investment account, you have like a Roth IRA with that person, great. My guess is that they're focusing on that. When's the last time really did and then maybe do some risk management into that conversation?
What if they don't know what company, because I've got that a lot.
One of two things happens, and I'll shut up. It's then they got a solid relationship with that person. That's probably good. Because if they say, I don't know the guy, but he's over at Mutual of Omaha, and it's about the company or the product. So that might say that they've got a pretty solid person over there. It could be an independent firm, and then you don't know if they're focused on wealth management or they're focused on risk management or anywhere in between.
So then would you ask more along the lines of, okay, can you tell me what you do with them, what you work with them?
What do they advise you on? Do they advise you on tax issues, on legal issues?
It's good to go down that funnel, but I caution you to, and I've said this to Kyle many times, when you offer a specific service, you can be what? What do I say to you? You can be what? Specifically rejected, right? So I don't want you to take them so much down that narrow thing. And you say, oh, well, State Farm does a fabulous job. My understanding is they're even handling some other protection aspects that go beyond, the family. They're just a great resource. I know that we have some wonderful people that are resources to us in the PNC, which I appreciate, So we're not trying to take away from or discount or devalue. And we're not offering anything specific. Because if you get into specifics, then they're going to tell you that that's specifically what they don't need, right? So any more questions about the advisor? Okay.
I think the last thing to this point, we were just, I think, having a conversation the other night. QME, these people gather as much information because Gibson just landed a case. I think Kyle was on this where they talked to a gal and they sent her back to talk to her advisor, and the advisor just happened to retire like the day before.
Oh, wow.
People leave this industry. I don't know if you guys know that, but people retire, people leave this industry. What? So somebody who has that advisor today, maybe they don't have that advisor in 3 months from now or a year from now.
Very good. Okay, good points.
I also have an example with that with my parents.
Yeah.
They have an advisor, have had a financial advisor forever, but they actually went to him, talking to him, because he doesn't do long-term care, but they asked his advice on it, and he said, yes, do it.
Interesting.
So kind of
right.
sold it for me. I didn't have to.
Very good. Very good. Good. Thank you for that great story too. Okay. And too busy. I think we already handled too busy. Why did I put too busy down twice?
Really important.
Yeah, it's very important. Okay. Have an advisor. We have that twice. Everything covered. I have everything covered. How do we handle that, Leon?
Well, I'd say, how do you know if you have everything covered?
It's pretty good. Kyle?
What's the list of stuff you have covered?
What's the list of stuff?
What does
Okay.
everything covered mean? What does that mean?
What does that mean?
What does
Okay.
everything covered mean?
That's good. Riley, do you ever come across that one?
Oh yeah, all the time.
What do you normally say back to that?
Yeah, I say something along the lines of, well, what, can you tell me something about everything? Like what, try to get into just asking more questions along, okay, you say you have everything covered.
So
Are
when
you
somebody
talking
says,
car insurance? Like, tell me a little bit more about.
what's behind the I have everything covered? I don't need anything that you have to offer, right? I pretty much have everything covered. There's nothing you possibly could offer me, right? That would make any value to me because I've taken care of everything already. Now that's BS, right? That's a smoke objection. That's how we know it's a smoke objection.
I was going to say, I work in this industry and I don't have everything covered. I'd like to have
Right.
covered.
That's right. I mean, nobody could buy, you might not know that I have a terrific magic trick that I could teach you, right? The point is that's a smoke objection. So having everything covered is smoke. So how do we get past that? Any ideas? Mike, do you want to throw one out?
You have to get them talking past that just one cover all objection. It's like, sounds like they just don't want to get into the conversation.
Well, what I say is, from being in this business for a long time, I've seen a lot of things, A lot of people are willing to talk to lots of different people, and I find lots of duplicate coverages on things, or I find coverages that they ought to have on something and they don't have, like, for example, a $10 a year umbrella policy, which is very important, you know, and they don't have that, but then they wind up having tricycle insurance. I've even gone to people's houses and found that they have, you know, insurance that they bought from AAA, that if you look at it, it's not really an insurance product, it's not backed up by the state, and yeah, it's only $10 a month, but if you can move your little toe, it doesn't qualify you for anything. So I think what's kind of helpful sometimes, because I'm assuming that you don't have a life and health license in the state of Minnesota, is that correct? Okay, well, what I can do for you is kind of map it out. I can let you know if there's anything that is a potential hole, or you know what, more often than not, you might have some coverage out there that you really don't need to have. Because believe it or not, there are some people out there who will tell you need coverage that you don't have. For example, this is literally truth. I had a customer that came to my dinner seminar at the Purple Hawk in Cambridge, and he says, "What do you think of that combined Medicare supplement policy?" Which, by the way, during that time was the most expensive Medicare supplement policy you could buy. And he said, "I don't think I need it because I have TRICARE for Life." Does anybody know what TRICARE for Life is? It means you're retired military. It's the best insurance that you can possibly get on the planet. This man isn't even on Medicare, so therefore he doesn't need a Medicare supplement because he has TRICARE for Life. But when I met him, he was 78 years old. He bought that combined policy when he was 65, and he'd been paying premiums from there into there, right? I think I gave him a huge value. I also called complained to Combined about the agent and tried to get him some of those premiums back. Now, I know that's not your story. I know that's my story. They don't know that's not your story. Use it, because it's an example of insurance malpractice. Another thing I will say is, you know what, now it's kind of nice for all of us, because if we have a question about some coverage, or we think we need some coverage, we may not sure, or maybe we talk to somebody at work and say, "Oh, I got this great policy, it's really cheap." We go online, we find out what it is, and we sign up for it online, right? But we don't have anybody that's kind of taken a look at it to see how it fits into our overall scheme. So sometimes people have bits and pieces of insurance all over the place. At the end of the day, what I'd like to do is make sure that the pieces that you have really go together and don't overlap. Make sure that you are taking any of the tax credits that are available to you with the policies that you have, and point out some things that maybe you didn't think about, that maybe is something you should look at down the road. Because really what I'm trying to do is grow my business. And if you know some of the resources that my company and Mutual of Omaha can provide you, I'm hoping that someday you'll give me a call and say, "You know what, I'd like to look into that, Jen." And that's really all I'm looking for. Because I'm hoping that either I can help you down the road, or I can help a friend, but I guarantee you, spending a half an hour with me is going to be a very good use of your time, and it doesn't cost you a penny. So when is the best time to see you? Again, go for the appointment. You don't, and I know I tell you guys that all the time, but I literally, as soon as I get done answering the objection, I go right for the close. So when's the best time to see you then? 5:30 on Tuesday work for you? Or would you prefer to come to my office? Does anyone want to give me some other ones? Since I had 2 on there.
Just one thing I'd like
Yeah.
to add, and I know we gotta get you out of here too, Jen, is anytime you hear, as Jen talks about, the smoke objections or the false objections, if you think about the psychology of what's going through most people's heads, they don't wanna meet with you, not because they don't wanna take care of their families, because they don't wanna waste their time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do any of you guys wanna take a random Thursday night to go meet with a property
No.
casualty or an insurance person or something like that? Especially if it's beautiful out like today. So a lot of times I'll call them on it, I'll say, "Hey Derek, listen, are you saying that you're too busy because you're priorities, right? Are you saying you're too busy because you really don't wanna meet with me? Probably don't wanna meet with me because you don't wanna take time out of your busy schedule, right? Because if you're not hanging out with me, you're probably hanging out with your kids or doing something that's important to you." Is that a little bit about what's embedded in your reason for not wanting to get together with me?
You called them
This
out
is
on
why, so how about we handle it this way? You're a busy guy, what time do you typically get in the office in the morning? 8 o'clock. Great, that's a good early start. how about we do this, is there a coffee shop anywhere near your office? Rhetorical question, right? Yes. How about we meet at 7:15, do what we gotta do, and we'll have you in the office by 8:00. Is this okay? Is this week good or is next week better for you? Again, go for the close.
Go for the close.
They don't know they can meet you during the day, because their expectations are based on their experiences, right? If they're meeting with somebody who they always meet in the evening, their expectations is they gotta give up a night of their life. If they meet with somebody and it's 2 hours every meeting, what's their expectation? It'd be 2 hours to meet with Mike, 25 minutes, right? Preview, we're not making any decisions. Take some tension out of the air. But call them on the busy side of it, or the priority in their life, and get down to it, and then give them another option that they didn't think about, which would be meet before you go to work.
Now, I'm gonna answer this question before I even ask it. But you guys have all done enough appointments, and how many times have you got done with the appointment and the client says, this is the biggest waste of my time. Oh my God, I can't believe I even let you in my life for this short period of time. You are completely useless to me. Does that ever happen? I usually point that out. Because I have never, in my life, had an appointment with somebody where they said, you know what, this was a complete waste of my time, I learned nothing. You will bring value, I guarantee it. I guarantee that you're gonna bring some value to their lives. And you need to own that in your heart. Because it's true. Because what we do does change lives, it does protect people, and does wonderful things for them. And I know nobody in here is out to hurt anyone. And so you need to keep that in mind. You have to remember, they would like to get the information without meeting you. You like to meet them without giving them the information. So there's a little bit of a war. But at the end of the day, you want to be a resource, and you want to get to know them, and you want to be responsible, which is why you want the appointment. And if you need to say that, say that. It would be unwise of me to give you any kind of recommendations without making sure that it fits into your overall budget, scheme, and what you already have in place. I'm very ethical that way, and I want to make sure that I don't cause any more damage. And I make sure that what you have underneath you is solid. You're not paying too much for something, you're not paying for something that you don't need. That's my first goal. The second goal is to ascertain if maybe there are other things we should look at. But we're not going to make any decisions when I come out to see you. You won't even be able to buy a chiclet for me because I don't carry them in my purse anymore, unless you want some. So lower the fear, be the resource.
And then to Jen's point too, as you hear her say certain things, humanize it as much as possible. Meaning put your personality into it, whether it's funny with a chiclet or not, right?
Mhm.
She's human in that situation. You're local, you're a person, not just a telemarketer from Omaha, Nebraska or India. And I think the more that you can communicate. And then I think the last part is, it's timing. We're on their timelines. We're not on ours, unfortunately. And so it truly is, as you start this business, you're just casting a wide net. And if you just happen to catch them at a time when they're thinking about this, you might get a meeting. If you don't, it's your job and opportunity to help expose that 3 months from now, 6 months from now, or a year from now.
And then just, and then also, I mean, I like that you're listening. All of you are listening, and that's good. Sometimes when we're a telemarketer, we don't want to hear them. We don't want to listen to them. We don't want to answer their objection. You need to be prepared for the objections because they're always the same. I wrote down 2 that were the same because I wasn't even thinking. It's always the same objections, and if you know that, then when you go to battle, you need to have a Post-it note with that objection on there, and you're writing it down. Right? So, and again, take a look at some of these scripts, but have them out when you do your calling. Bring your guns to battle. Be prepared to be in a quiet room and say, you know what, I'm going to get this done. I'm still telemarketing. I started off my career as telemarketing. I'm still doing it. Mike and I are very good telemarketers. So is Nick. If you get somebody throwing you under the bus, I'm surprised you guys are not running into all of us and saying, oh, I just had this call. It was terrible. What would you have done? That's the kind of stuff that we live for. Because it's a challenge. So, I mean, we want to help you. We want you to be successful. I know that if you can maximize your time on the phone and get appointments, I have no question. You could be a complete idiot. And there are people in our industry that don't have a lot to offer, but you know what? They're good at making appointments. If you make appointments, you're going to find somebody to help, I guarantee it. We fired up? Yay!
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. Stop.
Thank you.
Here,